Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Today is 12th of September. Now it's 15 past 12, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm a bit late, dear friends. My apologies for that. In some neighboring block, there was some emergency with electricity, and the engineers were called in, and they turned off entire freaking block. And last 60 minutes, 1.5 hours approximately, there was no electricity. Just I guess they dealt with the issue and electricity is on. But if I go online, by the way, during the stream, you will know that there are some works, emergency works with the electricity system in this block, and that's the reason. Anyways, my apologies for being a little later. Today is my birthday, dear friends, and so probably I can be apologized for being later. Okay, as always, I have prepared the news segment for you with the main news that Russian media and public is paying attention to. Yesterday, I had the second live stream late evening, but not that many members of our community did join that live stream. So therefore, I will repeat some of the news, not all, but some of the news from that yesterday's second update, and I will add, of course, new reports from Russian media. And after the stream, as always, I will join for a little while community chatter. If you have any question or topic that you want to highlight, you can use super chat feature on Rumble channel, or at least use capital letters, dear friends, and I will just spot it easier that way. Okay, that's being said, let's go through some news now. And as I said yesterday, I did reported about latest at the time in regards to assassination of Charlie Kirk, American public figure. And well, reports were that FBI found a rifle from which Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Statement was made about it, but suspect is itself is hiding still, and media outlets released image, several images, by the way, of the suspect, and you can see on your screen now one of those images. And also FBI issued a statement that they will award $100,000 for anyone who will assist them to find this suspect and to deal with their investigation successfully. That might help. And also, dear friends, this morning, U.S. State Department shared information that it will ban foreigners who glorify Charlie Kirk's death to enter United States, including ones that were celebrating death of Charlie Kirk online. I don't know how State Department gonna check all their social media accounts of the people that will apply for a visa or try to enter the US, but that's the statement that was made by State Department. Maybe they will go thoroughly through the phones of the people that will enter US or something, but topic itself is a serious one because unfortunately many people, very many people, by the way, inside the US and outside of US actually celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. You should see what Ukrainian outlets were doing, and commentators, brainwashed commentators from Kiev-controlled territory or their supporters in the West. They had a big celebration, by the way. I mean, what Charlie Kirk did bad to them, no one knows, nothing actually. Excuse me, but they were celebrating it. So many of them may end up in that blacklist that State Department will generate, I guess, with assistance of FBI and CIA, if the statement is not just empty words, right? Anyways, let's continue with some more news, dear friends. And well, yesterday I reported about progress of the Russian armed forces in that second update in Dnipropetrovsk direction. And well, reports are that Russian armed forces liberated settlements of Sosnovka and Novo-Nikolaevka in Dnipropetrovsk. If I remember correctly, this is either 8th of or ninth settlements, maybe even 10th, that already been liberated in Dnipropetrovsk direction. Also, Kiev regime confirmed the loss of another Su-27 fighter jet pilot, did not survive. And as always, Kiev regime stated that plane crashed. That's what they always say, that plane was conducting some operation and crashed, and pilot died. Most likely, of course, by the way, this is either work of Russian fighter jets or fighter pilots. They intercepted this enemy Su-27, or maybe Russian air defense systems. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that high precision complexes delivered their new, and this is corporation's name, by the way, delivered the new batches of BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles and the BMD-2 fighting vehicles for airborne units to Russian armed forces. So Russian military-industrial complex continues, by the way, to produce a great volume of military equipment, missiles, drones, tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and so on. And well, new batches of equipment has been delivered. Also, dear friends, today, on 12th of September, Zapad 2025 large-scale military exercises has started. Exercises of Russian and Belarusian troops. And these exercises will take place, by the way, not just on the territory of Belarus, but also on the territory of Russia, at sea also, on the Baltics and Barents Sea, if I remember correctly. And also, dear friends, in these exercises will participate military specialists from CSTO organization, which is a defense pact, basically, defense organization that created by several post-Soviet republics, including Russia, and also military experts from military specialists from Shanghai Cooperation Organization will be present during these exercises. I can show you, dear friends, it's large-scale exercises, and Western propaganda, Western public figures are making quite a noise about it. Videos of beginning of these exercises, you can see infantry fighting vehicles with their manpower. If you believe Western propaganda, by the way, Russian armed forces no longer have any tanks, any infantry fighting vehicles, any equipment whatsoever. But this is very far to be from being reality. You'll understand this, right? So helicopters, by the way, Ka-52 alligators. Probably best looking attack helicopters in the world. Tu-160, Russian strategic bomber, White Swan, so-called. Also, as I said, Navy is also participating in these exercises. I believe this is the Baltic Sea, right? Amphibious vessel there, missile cruiser. Also submarines, by the way, I believe participating. So it's going to be large-scale military exercises. That's the submarine, by the way. It's a Hunter submarine, right? It is, by the way. By silhouette of submarine, if you to pay attention to the developments, they recognize carrier of intercontinental ballistic missiles or carrier of torpedoes and cruise missiles. And the second ones are called Hunter submarines, right? And this one is the second one. Probably submarine that carries strategical weapons, that is missiles with their nuclear warheads. They cannot be filmed when they are on their mission. So therefore, in this video, Hunter submarine was depicted. So yes, big exercises, dear friends, are taking place. There was a lot of noise in the Western media about it. Western so-called politicians were sharing opinion that Russia, with these exercises, are preparing to attack NATO, to do some invasion here and there. All BS, by the way, nonsense. So therefore, I don't think it's worth to pay much attention to this nonsensical speculations by Western so-called elites. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting, based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that during the nighttime, air defense systems on duty intercepted 221 drones that was launched by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. One of the largest scale drone attacks on Russia, as far as I can remember. I can give you some specifics there, friends. 85 drones from these 221 was intercepted over the Bryansk region, 42 over the Smolensk region, 28 over the Leningrad region, by the way. And if you take a look at the map where Kiev controlled territories and where Leningrad region is, distances are 700 to 800 kilometers at least. I mean, maybe 1,000, right? It's far, far away. And that's why whenever there are drone attacks on Leningrad region or St. Petersburg, by the way, city, as it called, I mean, northern capital of Russia, as it often called, always speculations began on internet. These drones were launched where? And many people here in Russia have some doubts that these drones were actually launched from Kiev-controlled territory, myself included. Most likely, these drones were launched from NATO countries, either Baltic republics, Baltic Chihuahua quasi-states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, maybe from Finland, Sweden, Norway potentially, but I really doubt that these drones towards the Leningrad region are launched from Kiev-controlled territory. It's just too far, and there are chances that these drones, if Kiev regime will launch it from its controlled territory, will manage to bypass air defense systems in large numbers is next to none, right? So these drones have to be launched from somewhere else. And where this somewhere else is, either Baltic Sea itself, where Kiev regime can be provided by NATO with vessels that carry drones, right? Or these drones can be launched from ground of the NATO states, either those Chihuahuas, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, or Finland, Sweden, potentially Norway. That's my personal take. Russian Defense Ministry never claimed that these drones were launched from Baltic states, but I remind you, dear friends, that during the recent relatively large-scale attack on Leningrad region by NATO and their proxy regime in Kiev, a few days after, drone was found in Estonia, Ukrainian drone, by the way, was found in Estonian territory, I believe that was, right? On the territory of one of these Baltic Chihuahuas, and you tell me how that drone ended up there. If drone was not launched, either from Baltics or from territory of that republic, and then due to technical issues just fell down in that republic, isn't it? So there is quite a reasons to believe that NATO territory is used for these strikes, and if so, question might be why Russia is then not reacting on that, and well, I guess Moscow wants to avoid direct clashes with NATO. That will be only logical answer, because if Moscow says that yes, these drones were launched from NATO, then Moscow have to do something about it, right? But if Moscow is not acknowledging officially that NATO member states are providing their ground for these launches, then Moscow at least don't have to retaliate, right? So that may be calculus of the Kremlin. I don't know. I could not know, right? So yes, 28 drones were intercepted over the Leningrad region, 18 drones over the Kaluga region, 14 drones over the Novgorod region. In addition to that, 9 devices were destroyed over the territories of the Ariol region and the Moscow region. And this morning, dear friends, I published on my Telegram and Twitter X page a short video of interception of one of these drones in the Moscow region. 7 drones were also intercepted over the Belgorod region, 3 over Rostov and 2 regions each, and 1 drone was destroyed over the Pskov, Tula, and Kursk. Okay, that's the summary about this large-scale drone attack by NATO and the NATO proxy regime on Russia. At this point, I didn't see on the Russian segment of internet any reports about more or less significant damage on the ground or about casualties. If any update on that, of course, during the day, I will share information on that on my Telegram and Twitter pages, or during the next update. That is going to be tomorrow, by the way, because as I said, today is my birthday, so I'm not sure I will have a second update later on. Tomorrow, I will have update tomorrow. RIA Novosti is reporting that, yesterday Kyiv regime once again targeted Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, obviously with the authorization of United Kingdom, criminal so-called elites in the UK. These longer strikes cannot be done, and we all understand this cannot be done without direct involvement of NATO countries, first of all, US and UK. So Western so-called elites are directly involved in the nuclear terrorism, by the way. I see reports that radiation levels are in a norm. There was no leak of radiation due to this strike, but only for so long nuclear catastrophe can be avoided when Kyiv regime and its NATO backers are targeting Russian nuclear power plants on a regular basis. It's a disaster in the making, isn't it? RIA Novosti is also reporting, and I did mention this news yesterday during that second update, that Kaja Kallas, number one diplomat or top diplomat of European Union, stated that this proxy war that West is waging against Russia might last for another couple of years. Let me give you some details on that. So, conflict in Ukraine will continue for several more years, said the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, whose words are reported by EFE. And the quote, I think the realistic scenario is that the conflict continues for another couple of years. And she said, in her opinion, the pessimistic scenario for the end of hostilities would be an outcome in which Ukraine would have to make territorial concessions. Well, and she calls pessimistic scenario this one, right? That Kyiv regime would have to acknowledge objective reality on the ground, and globalists have to do this first of all, right? Because they control Kyiv regime. But I will say this one, that Kyiv regime and their globalists have to acknowledge objective reality, come to their senses, is a realistic scenario. When it comes to actual pessimistic scenario for the globalists, well, that would be when Ukraine will completely disappear from political map. That is, will undergo full-scale disintegration, right? And the western parts of Ukraine eventually end up being reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, Romania, and the rest of the territory of this former Soviet Republic, directly or indirectly, will be controlled by Moscow, basically, right? Some parts from Kharkov to Odessa most likely will join Russian Federation after referendums, and there is a very high possibility that whole of territory outside of Western Ukraine will join Russia, or maybe Kyiv and surrounding areas, as I said many times before, will maintain quasi-statehood exclusively in a Russian zone of influence. That's it, right? Completely free from the West, and that would be a pessimistic scenario for the globalists, and should be, right? Because what Kaja Kallas is calling pessimistic is just inevitability, absolute inevitability. Of course, Kyiv regime and their bosses among globalists will agree that territories that Russia has liberated will stay in Russia. Territories that join Russian Federation will be, part of Russia forever. And I think there is high probability that more regions from this former Soviet Republic will do the referendums and will join Russia too. Anyways, dear friends, you see, Kaja Kallas is predicting that this conflict will last another couple of years at least, which is a clear indicator that globalist control regimes in Europe were never about through the escalation, never about actually reaching sustainable peace. All they wanted and still want, by the way, is a little break for their proxy regime, right? For themselves and for their proxy regime in Kiev and their forces. That's why they were pushing this idea of 30-day ceasefire or something like that. But when it comes to actual end of hostilities, they are not about peace, man. They want a prolongation of this conflict as much as and as long as they can, because globalists and their puppets still believe that they can achieve strategical defeat of Russia. So until Moscow will force them to come to face the reality and capitulate, they will continue to prolong this proxy war, by the way, right? And right now they have two obstacles that they have to somehow overcome. One is that European states themselves are absolutely unable to sustain this proxy war against Russia. And that's the issue that they are working on. I guess that's why 2 trillion euros, by the way, plan to be allocated for military industrial complex in Europe and so on. And the other obstacle is how to keep US in this proxy war against Russia, because even with their 2 trillion investment into military industrial complex, Europe would not be able to defeat Russia, right? Europe would not, or globalists, let's say, and globalist control regimes in Europe would not be able to defeat Russia, even with American support, right? Because after all, things might escalate on a level that we will end up in a full-scale war in which there will be no winners. Everyone will lose, right? But to prolong this conflict, to pursue this dream that the globalists have about a strategical defeat of Russia, they need the US to be in. And they will do anything. They will do literally anything to keep US in. And I believe this provocation that we see a couple of days ago with the drones in Poland was a part of attempts of globalists and European so-called elites to keep US in, right? It did not work, by the way. It did not work because people did not believe in their propaganda, right? Yes, some of the drones, most likely, as I said in my previous updates, some of the drones most likely went off course due to work of radio electronic warfare systems, but European secret services and their proxy regime, they had already pre-planned operation for that particular situation. They had some drones that was already used by Russia and maybe was not really destroyed completely as a result of interception, or maybe drones run out of fuel and just crashed, right? And they reassembled these drones from God knows whatever parts, right? And that's why on the pictures that you see, there is a tapes, by the way, on the drones. Like, they did not look like they just come out from factory, right? And yesterday during the live stream, that was, I believe, I show pictures of a drone on the roof of some construction without damaging anything whatsoever. So someone clearly took this drone and put there, right? That's how careless they are. They are not even trying, by the way. They are so sure that their propaganda will fool Western society big time anyways, that they are not even trying no more, right? To make their false flag operations to look real. So yes, some of the drones, like a couple of drones, probably were diverted from their trajectory due to radio electronic warfare systems. And then this false flag operation was implemented by the globalists, right? And they put a number of drones here and there, right? To to launch another hysteria, right? And to tell Americans that, well, you see, Russia is bombing us with their drones, and you have to stay in this business of war against Russia. That's what they did, right? But seems like this did not really work much, because first of all, no one believes them, and secondly, at least for now, by the way, Trump did not really make much comments. Yesterday he said that well, probably this was some sort of mistake or something, and that's about it, what they get from Trump. Anyways, dear friends, if Trump is not making again like extremely crazy or threatening statements towards Russia, does not means that U.S. administration, American so-called leaders, are not on board with the globalists in this proxy war against us. They are on board, at least for now, and therefore U.S. Senators Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham, Dick Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham come up with another new legislation. They want to designate Russia. No. Alisa, stop. Turn off, please. So yes, Lindsey Graham and Dick Blumenthal come up with the idea to basically designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, which is a laughable, by the way. Really, I mean, U.S. is designating any other country to be a state sponsor of terrorism. U.S., creator of Al Qaeda, ISIS, and ally of all the other terrorist organizations that was used there against Syrian people, for example, against Iraqi people, for example. And these creatures, these kind of creatures like Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham are designating other countries to be sponsors of terrorism. I mean, this is not even laughable at this point, man. This just demonstrates level of degeneration of the US, right? Complete degeneration. But anyways, let me give you some videos on that these clowns, these bloody clowns, come up with. So this one video.
All right, guys.
Just look at these freaking clowns, man. What an embarrassment they are for US, or should be at least, right?
So that's where Russia belongs. That's the club. That's the group, a state sponsor of terrorism. Now, I know there are all kinds of practices.
By the way, is not Syria now a new ally of US? They did manage to bring to power terrorists, right? Al-Qaeda terrorists. So probably these stupid clowns forget that they are now allies with Syria. They lift all the sanctions and so on, right? That's the level, by the way, of these morons, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. They are terrorizing people of Cuba and North Korea with their sanctions and embargoes for how many decades? And Iran, by the way, for how many decades and decades and decades, right? And they were doing the same to Syria, but eventually Assad's regime collapsed, and their US allies, US ally terrorist groups are in charge now. Al-Qaeda affiliates, right? Members of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS are in charge in Syria. So they forget about this nuance, by the way, or they're just that stupid, by the way, that didn't even pay much attention to what kind of clown show they were putting up.
Question, what does it mean? What's the impact? And the point here is it brands Russia for what it is in the eyes of the world.
Someone gonna tell this clown that US is not this world, right? US is not whole world, and US and collective West in general is not whole world, by the way. We don't care about what Western world has to say. Western world is just a tiny part of this world. 15-20% maybe based on population, 80% on other side, right? And this 80% don't cares what so-called elites in US and in the collective West in general have to say. And by the way, just now, like recent weeks are clear demonstration of that, when India openly, by the way, openly mocks US and its allies. It's clear, isn't it? And India alone is 1.5 billion people, by the way, more than collective West combined. And this moron, Blumenthal, is talking about that the world will know this. And who are you to tell the world, man, anything? Unbelievable, man. I don't know. I feel sorry for Americans, man, that they've been led by this type of elements, man. What kind of future US gonna have when people like that are in charge, man? I mean, honestly, I mean, what kind of future US gonna have with such a people in charge? All right. Anyways, let's continue.
Member of this exclusive pariah club that nobody wants to join and condemns.
This idiot, by the way, I mean, has no freaking idea what he's talking about, isn't it? Because once again, Iran and Russia are members of the BRICS foundational stone of emerging multipolar world, and they're members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That represents most of this world, by the way, right? Because there is China there, India, not just Russia and Iran. China and India are members too, and many other countries. So what they are talking about, I mean, all these clown shows that we see from Washington, by the way, to me personally represents sort of desperation among American elites, because they never acted rationally, right? But nowadays they are just truly insane. They are going wild, absolutely wild, right? And this is should be indicator that they are desperate. They are hysterical. That's what it is, right?
Them not only for moral purposes, but also economic goals as well.
Unbelievable, man. That's one video. And then Lindsey Graham went to
Legislation, if passed, would designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law until they return the children. If you want to vote no...
By the way, they are speculating still to nowadays, by the way, with the story of kids being evacuated from a line of contact, from a zero line, literally, right? And saved. And the Russian side was very open always that if parents, and these kids, by the way, are from orphanages, their parents dropped them, right? Their relatives dropped them. These kids are from orphanages, right? Vast majority of them. And what should Russian militaries do, by the way, when there is a high intensity battle, right, in this settlement or that, and there is a building of the orphanage, right, and there are kids there? What should Russian militaries do? Just ignore it? Or should they evacuate the kids? Of course, they should evacuate the kids. That's what Russian militaries did, by the way. And for this, for saving the lives of their kids, this so-called International Criminal Court issued the arrest warrant on the Russian president, by the way, and Russian ombudsman for the kids. How insane is that? And these criminals, by the way, that are in charge of West, still speculating with this matter. That's what Lindsey Graham is demonstrating there, right? And the Moscow, dear friends, already stated on numerous occasions, I guess Western media never reported about it, that Kyiv regime transferred to Russian side names of a little over 100 children, and Russian side says whenever parents or the relatives of these children will say they are ready to take them back, Moscow is, releasing them straight away. Those kids are not prisoners or something. Those kids are living, and probably they are living happiest life they had until now, right? And whenever parents or the relatives of those kids will come forward, they say that they are ready to take kids back, of course Moscow will help reunite them with the kids, right? Even in that case, I have a questions, by the way. If those people drop these kids in orphanages, then I mean, from a legal standpoint, maybe Russia has no rights to say no, and that's why already, by the way, dozens of kids were transferred to Ukrainian side when their relatives make demand, right? But still, maybe from a legislative point of view, from law point of view, this is a right way. But on the other side, from moral point of view, I mean, those people dropped these kids already. They don't wanted them. They leave them in orphanages, and I mean, will these kids be safe if they are transferred to people like that? I don't know, man. You understand what am I talking about, isn't it? I mean, can you imagine you being dropped to orphanage? Your parents didn't wanted you, and then you end up on a line of contact. You've been evacuated, and you've been treated well, right? Maybe first time in your life, and now your relatives that never wanted you are saying, due to some political, political situation, they being used by Kiev regime and demanding you to be transferred there, and you're gonna be terrified about it. You are living probably happiest life since being born. You've been looked after. You've been you are in decent conditions, right? And now you have to go back to the people that never wanted you to begin with. I mean, that would be terrifying to me personally. I would say no, man. I personally will say no, man. Fuck him. Sorry for my language, but that's what I would say. If my parents dropped me, then why on earth I would ever want to go back to, reunite with them, man? No. But anyways, I mean, you see what I mean, by the way. There is a clearly moral point there, right? Maybe law says you have to transfer those kids, but from human point of view, I mean, those kids gonna be safer there and happier? I don't think so, man. I have some doubts about it. But anyways, let's listen to.
We will make you famous. You need to vote.
He's threatening his colleagues in the Senate that if they will vote against this legislation to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, well, he's threatening his colleagues that he will make them famous. Okay.
Thune and Schumer need to bring this bill up soon so we can tell Europe and the rest of the world, follow our lead. What does it matter to be a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law? Your economy is radioactive. You do business with Russia at your own peril. We have laws on the books that punish state sponsor of terrorism. It's hard to get on that list. Well, let me tell you, Russia's earned the right to be on this list.
It's freaking morons, man. Disgrace of humanity. That's what they are, right? And they still don't understand that this world already said where it stands, right? Despite all the pressure from the collective West on countries worldwide to force them cut ties with Russia, they failed. They failed miserably, right? This world already made their decision. They are staying with Russia. They prefer to have good friend relationships with Russia than with US or the collective West. I mean, world already has said this, right? But Western so-called elites did not get the memo, I guess. Anyways, dear friends, let's continue with some other news. And if you think, if you will ask what you guys think about all this stuff in Russia, we just don't care. We just simply don't care, man. That's if you conduct a study here in Russia, that will be vast majority's reaction. I mean, just who cares? TASS news agency is also reporting that French Foreign Ministry is stating that EU will present a new anti-Russian sanctions package on September 15th. So in 3 days' time, by the way, we will learn, I guess, some details about this 19th sanctions package that you're going to come up with. I wonder what they're going to sanction this time, right? And maybe finally I will see that oxygen from that was generated by Russian forest was finally sanctioned also, right? Because there is no much left. There is no much left. And also I wonder if EU will dare to go against China and India and other Russian trade partners. Let's see. But information will become available on 15th of September about it. TASS news agency is also reporting that UK is not waiting for Brussels, and they are expanding sanctions list against Russia. Details are that the British authorities have expanded the list of sanctions against Russia by 30 items. This is stated in a statement on the British government website. 70 new clarifications and 30 new positions have been added within the framework of the sanction regime against Russia, document said. Okay. And you see, by the way, Russian media did not even bother to go into details. Even media, by the way, mainstream media in Russia don't really cares no more. So much so that they are just giving you some basics. Oh, please come up with another like few dozen of sanctions. And same attitude you're gonna see when EU will come up with 19th sanctions package. Media will report just yeah, 19th sanctions package, and that's about it, right? No one, literally no one cares, man. Right? Also, what I do have here, um, oh, U.S. administration aims to reduce Russian gas supplies to Europe to zero and completely replace them with its own energy resources. This was stated in an interview with CNBC by U.S. Secretary of Energy Christopher Wright. According to him, European countries have assured the US that all purchases of Russian energy resources will be phased out by the end of 2026. So yes, US continues, by the way, US continues to pressure European elites to further cut ties with Russia, if any, whatever is remains, by the way, right? In terms of cooperation in any sector, West wants to cut to the zero this cooperation. First of all, in the energy field, because Americans know, by the way, perfectly well that more energy EU economies will take from US, then more expensive and less competitive European companies gonna be. Their production and their companies themselves gonna be on the world stage, right? And this will undoubtedly accelerate process of deindustrialization in Europe. And the hope of Washington, as far as I can tell, is that these companies that will either go bankrupt or will be close to it will move their manufacturing capabilities into US, where energy in some states, by the way, is 5 times cheaper than in Europe. 5 times cheaper than in Europe, by the way. So choice is quite simple, right, for those companies that already are experiencing significant difficulties. And I just reported a couple of days ago, isn't it, that more than 70 big manufacturers already, I mean, this year alone, by the way, already moved. And we are talking about big manufacturers, by the way, that were employing thousands and thousands of people. So more than 70 of them already decided that they are out of business, right? Some of them probably will shut down forever. Some of them move their manufacturing plants into US and restart producing whatever they're producing. So that's what is behind this assault of US on European elites to cut ties, any cooperation with Russia in any direction. And also, as we all know, dear friends, Washington is demanding from EU 100% tariffs to be imposed on China and India and other trade partners with Russia. So if US is successful in that, if Brussels will go ahead with 100% tariffs, then that's going to be, I don't know what to call it, man. It's going to be European elites are already committing suicide, sort of, and that will accelerate the process, let's say, right? European economy is going to end up in unbelievable trouble, by the way. But they might go ahead and do it, right? Because these European elites are so desperate, by the way, to keep US in this proxy war against Russia that they might obey any orders, right? And they might actually impose 50 or 100% tariffs on China and India and others, maybe even more, even though they know perfectly well they are killing their own economy by doing so. Also, interesting developments are happening in Belarus, by the way. US is kind of restoring relationships there. US wants to reopen its embassy in Minsk. This was stated by Trump's envoy, Cole, following talks with Lukashenko that happened yesterday. The current relations between Belarus and US were described by Cole as good but not excellent, added that the US is ready to do everything to fully normalize their ties. And this is strange, isn't it? This is very strange stuff that is happening there. It's a US, right? You cannot trust, man. You cannot trust the US elites ever. right? Definitely, at least until there will be a revolution in US and Americans will manage to reclaim their own country. Until that moment, you just simply cannot trust anything that comes out from US. You have to know always that all they do is destruction. All they do is disinformation, right? They are hostile. US under current leadership, under control of neocons, Zionists, globalists, and so on, is a predator, right? Predator, man. That's what US is. And so I don't like these developments. By the way, something dodgy is happening there. Maybe Washington will try to derail cooperation between Moscow and Minsk. I don't think they're going to succeed in that, but I think there is a high probability that Washington will try to somehow, influence Russia-Belarusian relationships in a negative way, and to do so, to be able to do so, by the way, they have to infiltrate Belarus big time, right? And therefore, they will lift some sanctions now. They will lift some sanctions. Some delegations from US will go to Belarus. Some NGOs will maybe reopen, right? To begin brainwashing people there and to begin building up assets, stockpile of assets that, of the people that they will corrupt, right? That's what US does everywhere, by the way. And that's why I will call Belarusian and Russian leadership to be very cautious with this development, because you shouldn't expect anything good from US or any other Western country right now, as long as they are controlled by these bloodthirsty warmongers, right, and the criminals. But nevertheless, process has begun, kind of, because we have this report that US will lift sanctions against Belarusian airline Belavia. This was reported by Reuters. US Special Envoy in Minsk, John Kale, said Trump made this decision after a phone call with Lukashenko. So I don't know, man. I don't know. And Lukashenko also released some 52 prisoners, by the way. From these 52, 14 were foreigners, right? I guess all of them Western assets, by the way, or related with the West, right? All of them, not just these 14 foreigners that obviously are related to the West, but other ones also. They are Western assets, I'm quite sure about it. And dear friends, before I continue, let me remind you, if I may, that if you like my work, you can support through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal and Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon page, where I have extra content on regular basis. And you can choose your level of monthly support there on Patreon. And I have a page on Boosty too. And I publish same stuff on Patreon and Boosty when it comes to this exclusive content. And during the streams, well, lately this super chat feature on Rumble is not really used that much. Maybe one donation a week. But nevertheless, there is opportunity. There is a possibility there to donate to the project through Rumble, super chat or round feature, and you can become a premium subscriber there on Rumble. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to support. That being said, dear friends, let me continue with some more news. It's already 50 minutes, this live stream. I'll give you at least headlines, and I will try from now on to make these live streams as short as possible. So what else do I have here? Well, on the topic of these drones and Poland, by the way, Trump was asked about it again, and he said that Trump does not rule out mistake in connection with the drone incident in Poland. He did not say much, and usually, by the way, Trump, isn't it? He loves to threaten everybody, and last several days at least, he did not threaten Russia with anything. And this is this raises the questions, right? Because before Iran was attacked, Trump actually started acting differently, right before Iran was attacked, by the way, Trump no longer was threatening Iran. Before that, yes, Trump was all aggressive, and they're threatening to do this and that. But right before, like several days before actual attack happened on Iran, Trump was no longer that aggressive. And maybe something similar is to be expected now. And my take, dear friends, I expect unprecedented scale escalation from the NATO against Russia to begin at any day, any point, right? And maybe that's why Trump is keeping quiet, to distance US from whatever plans they have, right? So that no one will say, well, you see, Trump was threatening and then this happened. So maybe, something dodgy is happening there, by the way. I cannot know for sure, but it's unusual behavior from Trump. Tass news agency is also reporting that NATO is preparing military defense response to drone incident in Poland. NATO is preparing a military defense response to the incident with the drones in Poland. Its goal will be to strengthen the eastern flank of the alliance. This is reported by Bloomberg agency citing sources. And, well, by the way, one of the reasons why Western secret services come up with this false flag operation, when they were waiting for a moment when several drones, Russian drones, will actually be diverted from the course and will enter Poland. They were waiting for this moment, and they were ready to put out these drones that they themselves reassembled from used ones, right? Put here and there, and began this hysteria. And they're gonna now use this situation to justify additional deployment of troops, NATO troops, to Russian borders. Because let's keep in mind, dear friends, that Ukraine is a massive country, right? Not a country, by the way. This former Soviet republic is massive, right? And NATO, if globalists and globalist-controlled regimes in the West are planning to deploy their troops, they need numbers. Due to vastness of the territory, they need big numbers, right? 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, they will get lost, by the way, between two settlements, right? Nothing to be said about whole territory. So they need tens of thousands of military personnel, right? And they're going to use now this story of drones to deploy this additional tens of thousands of troops. And that's what Bloomberg is actually reporting there. And, well, Poland already began deploying significant parts of its military towards the border with Belarus and Ukraine. We have this report that Poland is moving around 40,000 troops, by the way. Poland alone is moving around 40,000 troops to their border with Belarus and Russia, following a drone incursion into its territory, and on the eve of military drills in Belarus. And earlier I reported, dear friends, that some 30,000 troops already were on the borderline in Poland, because they are scheduled to participate in NATO exercises, right? So, I mean, 30,000 plus 40,000, if in this 40,000, this 30 was not counted, then, well, it's quite a big number. It looks like something, isn't it? If you add to this NATO countries that, as Bloomberg reports, are planning to deploy their military assets, then overall, by the way, we might see a picture when on a Russian border, on the border of Belarus, and also on the border with their Kiev-controlled territory, NATO might end up having like around 150, 200,000 troops, which is significant, right? 200,000 troops, that's something serious. So maybe they are actually preparing for a war with Russia. You know, you just otherwise you tell me what is going on, man. Anyways, dear friends, as I said, if it comes to full-scale war between, I still don't believe that this will happen. I mean, full-scale war between NATO and Russia. But if it happens, then, well, I mean, war is finished, right? Because that war not going to be fought with conventional weapons only. Russia can take out European armies with the conventional weapons too, by the way. I mean, let's make no mistake about that. Russian troops will obliterate United European Army, by the way. We will obliterate them, right? With the conventional weapons. We will obliterate military industrial complexes of European states. They will beg for mercy, right? That's what will happen. US is a bit different because we have no border. I mean, we do have a border in the east, by the way, right? Not a land border, but distance is just several miles, by the way, right? From Russian Big Diamond Island and the American Small Diamond Island in the Bering Strait. But we're not going to fight in Alaska, right? So due to quite a distance between US and Russia, I don't know, man. If US is engaged, I can say that my belief is that if US is engaged in a war against Russia, then in that case, this fight will go nuclear very fast. That war would not be conventional. With Europe, if Europe attacks openly, with Europe, we can deal with the conventional weapons, right? We can mobilize, by the way, like 10, 15 million people if necessary, right? With a high spirit. And people are angry, by the way, on Western elites, right? Very angry. Not on the Western people, by the way. We have no issue with the ordinary people. We all understand perfectly well that they never been asked. Majority of them been brainwashed. And even then they were never asked, do they really want to end up in a war with Russia? Because I think even brainwashed ones will say no, because they want to live, I guess, right? They are not suicidal. Not all of them, at least. So yes, with Europe, we can deal, by the way. We can come up with much more battle-capable forces. Russia already has the most capable army in the world, right? Ground forces. If US is engaged, that's a whole different story because balance might shift in that case, right? If a fight is only with conventional weapons. And therefore, that war, in that case, war will go nuclear straight away. And it would not end well for anybody, right? That would be end for everything. Let's hope all these negative scenarios will never come to reality, right? But you tell me, dear friends, what the hell is going on in Europe? I mean, what they are doing? They're constantly talking about war, right? Constantly talking about war. And they are militarizing. They are deploying more and more troops to Russian borders and to borders of the Belarus. They are preparing for something, right? And not for some festive, isn't it? It's not going to be that some musician's going to go to Polish border now and do some ground concert for these tens of thousands of troops. Something else is being cooked there, right? So yes, I mean, I'm quite sure, by the way, a vast majority of my fellow citizens will agree with me that we can deal with Europe, this globalist control Europe and their armies, even with conventional weapons. There will be no need to use nukes. If France and UK will not use them. But when it comes to US, if US is also engaged, then yes, balance will shift and we will have to go nuclear. But hopefully nothing like that will happen, right? And on the matter of escalation, by the way, we have this report that Germany to bolster military presence on NATO's eastern border. That's what I'm talking about, man. They are sending more and more troops, right? Germany to bolster military presence in eastern NATO after drone incident. Let me give you some details. The German government will step up its involvement on NATO's eastern border in response to recent Russian violations of the Polish airspace. This was stated by government spokesman in Germany, Stefan Cornelius. Under this pretext, the cabinet of ministers also intends to increase support for Ukraine and will seek the rapid adoption of the 19th package of sanctions against Russia in the European Union. And by the way, while we are talking about potential warfare between globalist controlled Europe and Russia, I wonder how many troops they can come up with, really. I mean, Poland has like 200 or 300,000 troops around. UK has 70,000 troops. France maybe a little more, like 100,000, 150. And the rest of their countries, they also can come up with 100,000, 50 to 100,000, some of them at least, right? So probably Europe has about million and a half troops right now. And that is quite a lot, isn't it? That is quite a lot, but we can deal with it. We can deal with it for sure. But when it comes to mobilization, even without mobilization, we can deal with those European armies, by the way. I mean, Russian armed forces and the volunteers and people that are signing up for contracts, I mean, they can deal with their NATO troops. If mobilization will be in Europe, then we will call mobilization through. And yet again, I think we will have much more battle-capable reservists because, of the high spirit. I don't think European societies, I mean, people in Europe, by the way, I mean, they have any high spirit, right? Or any willingness to fight Russia. We have a beef with Western elites, by the way. I have a beef with Western elites, right? And I will go, if it comes to it, I will go happily, by the way, right? Because I consider them to be my mortal enemies, Western elites, and I'll do my best to, do whatever it takes to neutralize these Western elites that I consider to be a threat for all of humanity. But I wonder how many people in Europe has same spirit and same attitude towards Russian elites or Russia. Not that many. I mean, it's easy to talk some shit about this country and that country, but to actually go to the war and potentially die, you have to have believe in something, right? You have to believe that you are fighting a rightful fight, man. And we have that belief. Europeans, I don't think so, because when we attack them, when we freaking attack them, man, it didn't happen, right? I'm just, sorry for this philosophical 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but we all thinking about this stuff, isn't it? By the way, we are all humans, and time to time we have discussions with our friends, family members, others, and we all discussing what might happen or how and so on. So. Few more news, dear friends. This morning, I reported on my Telegram and Twitter X pages that Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, stated that Iran's enriched nuclear materials are currently under the rubble at the nuclear facilities after the strikes by the Israel and the US. And this is an interesting statement, by the way, because this statement allows Tehran to say to everybody that, you know what, you are asking me about enriched uranium. Well, it's been buried, right, as a result of Israeli and American strikes. So we have no freaking idea what happened to them. It's like deep underground, and we did not get there yet. It's quite a way for deception, right, that Iran might be engaged while they will continue enriching uranium and potentially developing nuclear bomb because they need it, because they need one, right? Because they understand perfectly well latent nuclear deterrent is not working. So they're gonna go nuclear. I have no doubts about it, brother. Iran will go nuclear. I don't know how long it will take, but in a relatively short time, probably rumors will begin speculating, rumors that will be generated initially from Iran itself, because they would want world to know that there is a probability that they actually have nukes. Iran will deny existence of nukes, as Israel denies, right? But there will be clear understanding in the place. I think that's the Iran's policy, that they have nukes and better not to mess with them. I think that's the direction that Iran is heading, by the way. I know there is a fatwa in a place, this religious element from a supreme leader of Iran, that he is against nuclear weapons and so on. But Iran was attacked, by the way, by regional superpower Israel and by major global superpower US. And this happened because they did not have the nuclear weapons. So if supreme leader was thinking that latent deterrent will work, well, he was wrong, right? So therefore, I guess Tehran don't really have much choices now. They have to go nuclear, and they will. And to keep hostiles out of conversation about this enriched uranium, they come up with quite a good explanation. I mean, you bombed it, you bombed our nuclear facilities, right? And our enriched uranium is somewhere there, 100 meters below ground. So what you want from us, right? So I think that's what is happening. That's why Abbas Araghchi made such a statement. RIA Novosti is reporting that Maduro announces a launch of operation to ensure country's defense. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announces the launch of an operation to ensure the country's comprehensive defense. We have a quote here: "I am launching this operation within the framework of a concept of comprehensive defense of the country, the concept of active resistance of the people, and constant offensive actions in this fundamental battle to achieve and strengthen the peace," he said during the public speech broadcast on his YouTube channel. Yes, I mean, they are ready. They are getting ready, by the way. They are getting ready to defend themselves. Maduro should stay out of public places for sure, because before US will go all in, they will try, most likely, to conduct decapitation strike on Venezuela, on Venezuelan political elites and their military elites. There can be no doubts about that. So yes, Maduro better to communicate with from some safe place through TV and that kind of stuff. Although he cannot go online, because in that case his location can be tracked, right? But yes, they are preparing, by the way. They are preparing, and as I said before, even if US is successful to take out Maduro and others there that represent regime, if people of Venezuela if people of Venezuela will oppose idea of recolonization of the country by US, then they will fight. And if they will fight, US will have no chances to succeed. They might remove Maduro for sure. They might remove whoever will replace him, and so on and so on, right? Like Israel does. I mean, Israel kills leaders of Hamas or Hezbollah or other groups time and time again. But there are new members, new leadership there, right? And Israel cannot defeat the people, because people are fighting for survival, by the way, right? People are fighting for survival. So they have no option. Israel put them in a situation when they have to fight, and they do, right? Palestinians. And if US will put in a similar place people of Venezuela, man, these are Bolivarian people, man. They're not gonna, surrender and agree on being slaves of US corporations, man. I don't think that will work, right? But anyways, let's see what is going to happen. Recently, there was no much talk in the media or political field about Venezuela, but things might escalate anytime, right? US still has deployed its strike group off coast of Venezuela. Also interesting news from South America, that Brazil's Supreme Court convicted the former president Jair Bolsonaro of taking part in a criminal organization linked to attempted coup. According to reports, Bolsonaro has been sentenced to 27 years and 3 months in prison. And well, this information definitely would not go well in U.S. among U.S. neocon groups, even in White House, there will be reactions on this report. But Brazilian leadership don't care. If Bolsonaro committed crime, and I have no reason to doubt decision of Supreme Court of Brazil, then well, he should pay the price for his crimes, right? He was endangering tens of millions of people while being part of this regime change operation that failed, right? So all of them should pay price for this. You cannot endanger millions and millions of people and hope that nothing will happen to you. No, man. So justice to be served, and well, if this person, not if this person is guilty, by the way, that's what Brazil Supreme Court says. So he should serve the time, right? Who cares what American neocons will like or not? RIA Novosti is also reporting that Japan lowers price threshold for Russian oil imports. Okay, Japan, this country is something really, isn't it? Japan has lowered the price threshold for importing crude oil from Russia to $47.6 per barrel. The country's foreign ministry said in a press release. From September 12, 2025, the maximum price will be reduced from $60 to $47.60 per barrel, documenter states. The new threshold applies to contracts concluded from today and with unloading after October 17. Later, the Japanese Foreign Ministry clarified that the rules will not affect purchases from Sakhalin-2 if importers prove their origin of their raw minerals, raw materials. By the way, in Sakhalin-2, there is Japanese investments. Two Japanese companies, I believe, are part of that project. In addition, Tokyo imposes sanctions against 52 organizations and 10 individuals from Russia, as well as the 3 companies from Belarus. This list includes, in particular, the movement of their first, the Ahmad Kadyrov Foundation, and their International Children's Center, Artek. Unbelievable, man. Artek is a children's center, by the way. Famous, world famous since the Soviet era, by the way, right? And to nowadays, people, youngsters love to go there because it's a once in a lifetime experience, kind of. They are sanctioning Artek, man. These freaking psychos, man. That's the level. That's the level, by the way. I'm telling you, give it a little time, and they will come up with the sanctioning Russian oxygen or oxygen that was generated from Russian forest. They're gonna go that crazy. They're gonna sanction stuff that, even they would not be even able to explain what they are sanctioning. Imbeciles, man, total freaking imbeciles. And Japan will only take, I guess, oil from the Sakhalin-2 project, right, where Japanese companies are involved there. And they pay higher. They pay higher, and this decision that oil from other areas will be brought by 47.6 means that Japan will refuse to buy oil from Russia, period. Because based on Russian laws, by the way, Russian president even issued a decree that companies cannot sell oil on the price that is demanded by hostile nations, right? On the level of price cap. Companies cannot sell the oil with such a price. So anyways, Japan is escalating with Russia, coming up with more sanctions. Okay. TASS news agency is also reporting that today, dear friends, Russian central bank might reduce key rate by 1% from 18 to 17, although Who knows? Who knows? Many people here in Russia has expectations that key rate will be dropped a little further than that, maybe 2%. That will be better, I think, for economy, for exporters, for budget, by the way, because maybe Russian ruble will become a little weaker because it's just too freaking strong, man, and this is not beneficial for nobody, right? Stronger ruble is no good in current circumstances. Is not good for economy or for federal budget. So maybe central bank will drop for 2%. For now, there was no reports. I have not seen any reports on that. Let me right now check. Maybe there was some information on it while I'm online. Oh, okay, this report is interesting. Over the past week, the East military group liberated the settlements of Kharoshe, Sosnovka, and Novopetrovsk in the Dnipropetrovsk region. I reported all about all three settlements, by the way. Kharoshe was liberated a couple of days ago, and Sosnovka and Novopetrovsk day before yesterday, and yesterday Defense Ministry confirmed that, and their friends right now. Right now, breaking news. And yes, as it was predicted, the Bank of Russia has lowered the key rate for the third time in a row, this time by 1 percentage point to 17% per annum. Regulator stated, and okay. I mean, it's still better. Economy definitely. I mean, definitely to tackle overheating of the economical bloc of the Russian government and also central bank, they went through some harsh measures, by the way. And for example, central bank increased their interest rate up to 21% at one point, right? And it worked. Whatever measures they come up with, it worked, and the Russian economy did cool down a bit, right? But now many economical experts are saying that, I mean, enough is enough, right? Economy is well in position to go on again, right? And there was expectations that central bank will drop interest rates for 3, 4, some were even saying 5 to 6%, which was never believable. I never believed in that, but my hope was 2%, by the way. And well, they dropped only for 1. Okay. Okay. And I'm invested in this topic because I said, like before, I believe that I was waiting for this drop in interest rates in September because I need to take a loan if I want to stay in this business of news and political commentary full time. And these loans are just too expensive, man, too expensive. And I was hoping maybe central bank will drop at least 2% so that commercial banks will also lower their interest rates. Anyways, a few more news, dear friends. TASS news agency is reporting that Russia's international reserves hit a fresh all-time high of 698.5 billion. So Russia's international reserves amounted to 698.5 billion as of September 5th, 2025, having hit a fresh all-time high as they increased by 13 billion in 1 week. The central bank reported. So also interesting, isn't it, that Russian reserves are almost 700 billion. This is international reserves, by the way, and there is another funds also here in Russia that have their reserves, right? And if you calculate all of it, you will get to about trillion that Russia has as a safety cushion, which is quite a lot, by the way, quite a lot. Not that many countries can say anything that they have something like that, right? Russia does. Only question I have, by the way, whenever I see these reports that Russian international reserves amounted to this volume and that, our central bank is calculating frozen Russian assets in the West also, or not, right? I hope not. I hope not, because more than 300 billion, by the way, is frozen in the West, right? But as you can see in this report, in a week, by the way, Russian reserves increased by $13 billion, and this money cannot come from the West, right? From Russian frozen assets, because revenues from Russian frozen assets are given to Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. So this money did came from somewhere else, from other parts of the world, right? And in whichever areas central bank has invested. So also something to keep in mind. But as I said, by the way, there is several funds that Russia has, and the combined volume of those funds gonna be around trillion. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian GDP maintains a positive dynamic, according to Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, and since January to July, by the way, of this year, economy grow by 1.1%, which is not that much, right? I would like to see, of course, much higher numbers, but that's what Mishustin is saying. Overall prediction of Russian government economical bloc about Russian GDP this year is a growth of 1.5% approximately. I think this is a very conservative estimate. My personal opinion is that economy will grow at least 2%, most likely higher than that. And we will find out in February, March of 2026, when final numbers will be available. But fact itself, by the way, that despite all these thousands and thousands of Western sanctions and pressure, Russian economy is growing while Western economy is struggling, is quite telling, isn't it? It is telling. And that's about it for news segment, dear friends. Today, hopefully, you did find it informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please like the video, click that like button, and leave some commentary. This might help to reach a wider audience. And before I join community chat, dear friends, there was a super chat. There was a super chat on Rumble, and let me highlight this super chat, dear friends. So this is a super chatter, Pentavovin. Thank you very much for your super chat, $10 donation, and comment from Pentavovin is a happy birthday from Post Nation State, Canada. Man, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pentavovin, for your donation, and congratulations. Truly grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And let me now go through chat, dear friends. What? Oh, there was donation on PayPal, dear friends. So let me highlight donation on PayPal. Natalia, thank you very much for your $20 donation. Truly grateful for your support and attention. And comment from Natalia is happy birthday, Levan. Hello, Anna. This is from Bold Eagle. This is from a Bold Eagle, this donation. Thank you very much, Bold Eagle. And to Natalia also. Truly grateful, dear friends. Thank you all. Thank you. And let me scroll now through chat. I can show you, dear friends, there how it looks. I did it once before. I will show you now how this chat of both channels, YouTube and Rumble, looks. It's one window, and I can see all the comments. Unfortunately, when there is a super chat on Rumble, StreamYard is not highlighting that this is a super chat with some different color for the comment or something. So therefore, it is difficult to spot. But I can show you now how this looks. It might look strange. So screen. So that's how it looks, by the way. I will turn off. Okay, that's it. Right. And now probably you see. Now probably you have seen you see chat too. That's how it looks. That's what I see, by the way, on my screen. Right. I can continue this way. Basically. So let's scroll through chatter. Thank you all, dear friends, for your attention, for being here, and if you have a question, dear friends, to be for me, or if you want to highlight any commentary, please use capital letters. It will make it easier to spot. I can go through chat and take my time after stream, but during the stream to do it faster. To keep this stream relatively short, of course, I have to scroll fast. So, and there are many thanks, dear friends, for congratulations. I see congratulations from members of our community. So truly grateful, dear friends. Thank you. I'm 48, man. 48. Time is flying, isn't it? Yeah. Time is flying. Oh, Jerry Proctor is commenting that there are some echo in the voice. Is it okay, dear friends? Hopefully. Sometimes when I start stream, there are some issues with the sound, but then StreamYard itself is regulating it. So tomorrow, dear friends, probably I will have if I will do update, just one stream. On Sunday, traditional big community chat and the fundraising stream. And from next week, I don't know, evening live streams did not really work well, isn't it? Didn't. There was never even 100 members of the community online. And yesterday during the online, there was only like 40 of us, 40, 45 of us on the stream. So I guess time was either very inconvenient or big channels, several big channels had their stream same time at 9 p.m. Moscow time. And, of course, it's not easy to compete with these big channels. But I don't know. It did not work. I think this second live streams in the evening don't work. Yes, Bald Eagle is commenting. Remember to hit the like button. Yes, dear friends, if you can, it might help. I think it will help. More likes video has there is a better chances, I guess, that will somehow influence algorithm, and maybe my videos will end up in the recommendations. This did not happen for a while, by the way. I mean, since Israeli conflict, because I'm sharing what I think, and who runs Google, right? Who runs YouTube, and also, by the way, Rumble. Numbers dropped. numbers of views dropped. I guess my channel was in shadow ban before, but you know, after this whole story in the Middle East, after what Israel is doing, and my comments on that, of course, they have algorithms set up in ways that on the channels, when there is some critical word about actions of the Israel, those channels have to be suppressed even further, I guess. And they're just a day before yesterday, or yesterday it was, I saw a video of Kyle Kalinske, by the way. It's a lefty big blogger in US, and he was talking about that. Well, YouTube, because of the drop, he had like 30% drop in the viewership, by the way, and he has a massive channel, right? Million something subscribers, and he noticed that there was some 30% drop, about 30% drop, which is not normal, right? For sure, not normal. I experienced that several times, right? YouTube was halving view numbers. If there was 10,000 views, something was happening, and then next videos will only get like 5,000 views max. I was like struggling to understand how come that like 50% drop is just not normal, right? How this is can be. Then, by the way, again, YouTube was dropping view numbers 30 to 50%, right? And now barely any of my videos are reaching 2,000 views. That's what YouTube shows me, at least, right? And you also. Maybe real numbers are different, but how can I know, right? And Kyle Kalinske was commenting that he noticed this significant drop, and YouTube come up with an explanation that they change their algorithms to protect this and protect that. In reality, they are smashing, by the way, they are smashing channels that dare to say anything critical about crimes that Israel is committing against humanity. So it is what it is, man. So yes, if you can, dear friends, hit that like button and leave some commentary. It might help, actually. So I see no questions to me. Thank you very much for congratulations with the birthday. And my apologies if I miss your question while scrolling this fast. So yes, that's it. Oh, interesting. Harry C. Smith is commenting, I am lefty. Kyle Kalinske is a liberal. I regard the liberals as a centrists. Oh, okay. Okay. You consider Kyle Kalinske to be centrist? I mean, he's a... I don't know. I mean, yet again, dear friends, I myself consider myself to be left liberal, right? Here in Russia, and I am left liberal by our standards here, right? Based on my beliefs and ideology, because majority people probably are more conservative than I am. But if I end up in somewhere in US, for example, or in Western European states, then I guess local left liberals is gonna call me like ultra radical conservative or something, because these words have very different meaning in different societies, different countries, right? So, I mean, you don't consider Kyle Kalinske to be lefty? Okay, that's interesting. So he was talking about this drop, significant drop in viewership, and 30% is a big deal, obviously, for any channel, even big ones. And yes, he did some research, and well, turns out that YouTube administration that we know controlled by what forces come up with the explanation that they are changing the algorithms in a way to protect certain groups. Okay, okay, man. Eventually, they will either force everybody out of YouTube, or they will be forced to just blanketly, shut down all the channels that dare to say anything critical about crimes that Israel is committing. Okay. Kyle is a center left, but that's far left by American standards. Thank you for explanation, Harry. Okay, now I get that better. Now I understand it better, because I mean he's a I mean liberal, right? Uh, and even though I myself, I mean I myself a liberal here in Russia by our standards, but and he is a liberal, right? But I mean, and I can agree with him. I have seen many of his videos, by the way. I'm monitoring alternative media for how many years now. And there is some topics that I 100% can agree with him, but there are some other topics that I find it difficult to believe that someone with their sense can actually agree on. And that's why at some point, I lost interest towards Kyle Kalinski's work that much, because he was just going too far, in my understanding, and he was not doing good for nobody, right? While pushing certain ideas, sort of, that are nonsensical to me personally, and from scientific even point of view, I think. Nevertheless, dear friends, thank you for sharing, Harry, and I guess this is it. Okay, one more commentary. A few more commentary, dear friends. Danny DeWall is commenting, since Elon Musk's 47 billion bucks brought the freedom of speech back, it has got a little bit better on YouTube. I mean, I on YouTube I did not notice nothing, no improvement. It's getting worse and worse. Maybe because my channel is from Russia, right? This is also something that I have to keep in mind. I am from Russia. My channel is from Russia, and I am pro-Russian, right? I'm not playing no games that I'm neutral and this and that. No, I'm not neutral, by the way. I'm pro-Russian, 100%. And you can watch one of my videos and you will realize that straight away. These guys are, 100% pro-Russian. No questions about that. And the algorithm obviously don't like what I have to say about anything, I guess. So yes, the fact that I'm from Russia also most likely adds to algorithms pressure. But yes, I personally did not notice no improvements on YouTube. It's getting worse, man. It's getting worse. You remember, I'm veterans of our community probably remember, quite often my videos had like 10, 15,000 views, or some videos are dozens, tens of thousands of views. Now, barely any video, by the way, manages to get 2,000 views, right? Which is, okay, I can say I'm not interesting. I'm not reporting about interesting news, but such a significant drop, I don't know. Probably it has something to do with me, because sometimes I'm getting too emotional and people don't like it, and my wife is criticizing me for that when I'm using some slanger while being emotional. I myself don't like it, and I'm gonna try to control my language in this regard. But so partially it's me, of course, reason, but I don't think it's only me. Algorithm is doing some crap, man. And also a comment from Alexander G. USA used to be left of Europe on average, but that's no longer true. USA is the left of Europe now. Okay. So you are saying that Europe is more left than US, if I understand correctly. Could be true, by the way. I mean, last time I was in Western Europe, for example, it was like 25 years ago, more, right? And I mean, it was all good, man. 25 years ago, I lived in UK for several years, and it was all good, man. And I have good memories, right? And that's why I feel very sorry for people of UK, from whom I only see kindness, by the way, right? While I was living there, I truly feel sorry whenever I hear some news that people are struggling to, bills to be paid, and economy is getting worse, because this hurts ordinary people like us first, isn't it? You know. And dear friends, let me end the live stream on that. Thank you all for your comments, for your attention, for your time, for donations, of course. Many thanks to our members of community. Have a wonderful day, dear friends. Great upcoming weekend, and take care. Bye for now.